I never thought the day would arrive when I'd agree with Anne Widdicomb. But goodness me, it has arrived. There's something she said which I agree with wholeheartedly. Have a listen.
Can any country which cannot control its own borders run itself in an orderly fashion? Totally impossible.
So Anne is right. Brexit, although she probably wouldn't admit that this is because of Brexit, but Brexit ensured we lost control of food and plant imports, because when we left the European Union, the EU put up checks for British exports going over to the EU, but we did not do that. And over the last 3 years, they've delayed implementing these checks 5 times. And whilst there is now an agreement to bring these checks in a phased way, the system itself looks deeply flawed, and I don't believe it's going to help us in any way, because I think it will encourage illegal imports even more, and I think it will discourage good imports of small and medium-sized business sending over artisan-type cheeses and that kind of thing, because the system is voluntary, and they've got 22 miles between Dover when they arrive in Britain and the check-in centre in Ashford. So if you are going to be bringing over illegal products to Britain, you've got 22 miles to arrive and meet somebody else and offload your illegal produce. Or because it's voluntary, you don't actually even bother to register there. So it's, in my view, as much use as a chocolate teapot. But it does mean that we're going to get some more inflation, some more costs, and also it means that, as I said, the good food that we've been used to since the single market in particular, being here in these artisan cheese shops and pasta and all of those kind of continental goods that we've enjoyed, are going to dry up. Of course, the big exporters, the branded stuff that you get from Lidl and Aldi and those kind of pre-packaged stuff is still going to come. But we won't get the so much, or you're going to pay a dear price for the luxury goods that have been affordable to most people. So that's probably as far as I'm going to be able to agree with Anne Widdicomb, but let's play the rest of it. So, of course,
we need to know the proper projections of the population for several years ahead, and in some areas for a couple of decades ahead, so that we can plan basic things like housing and education and health services and transport and the infrastructure. And all those suffer when we have completely unregulated immigration.
She's now saying that she wants to have control of how many people are going to be in this country 20 years ahead. So she wants our kids to start planning and let her know how many children they're planning to have 20 years in advance. I mean, what rubbish is this? Absolute nonsense. And the thing with Anne Widdicomb is that she is of the age, actually, which is living longer. And this age, this population, the older population, the baby boomers, of which I am one, so I think I can be critical about them, is that we're living longer than ever before, and many of us have had less children. Some of us have had no children. The working age population in this country is shrinking. It's been shrinking for a while, and it is why we need immigration. The only reason the Reform Party and elements of the Conservative Party go on about immigration is just a hook. It's just like fishing, it's bait. And it actually gets people motivated to think, I heard there's not enough places in my hospital because there's too many immigrants coming in here. The fact of the matter is we need the immigrants to come in and run the hospitals to help pick the fruit and so forth on our farms, because the birth rate in Britain has been in decline since the late 1960s, Since we had the pill and since women actually were broke free, they broke free from the kitchen sink. That process has been really happening and progressing since the women got the vote. Now, I, for one, as a woman, don't want to go back to the day when a woman was chained to the kitchen sink and she was forced to have children and be at the mercy of her husband and controlled by him. That is something which is, I would call, regressive. And I certainly think that that's where Anne and I very much disagree, and that's where her politics are. I think that the large number of British people would agree with me. We need to be realistic about what the challenges are that we face. And the biggest challenge that we face is short-termism. There's no long-term planning. And we have got a populist movement which is growing, and it's a danger. And we must be careful and awake to not being caught into these traps of thinking, aha, it's all somebody else's fault, because this is what happened in Nazi Germany in the 30s. The othering took hold, the scapegoating, and it leads to a very bad place. And that's a place we don't need to go to and we don't want to go to. So don't listen to people like Anne Widdicomb.